Now let's get to our conversation today. I'll go straight to the objectives of the Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners Association of Nigeria, which is to improve the standards of performance and discharge of all those functions, powers and duties which are attached to or incidental to offices or positions of liquidation administrator, trustees and receivers under any other similar offices and positions concerning assets liability or affairs of any individuals, corporations or other persons or bodies of persons. Such offices and positions being hereinafter collectively referred to as insolvency administration. Now, BRIPAN is a non-profit organization committed to building the profile and performance of its members in the business recovery and insolvency practice field. The association promotes the best practices of professionals working with financially troubled individuals and businesses. The theme of the forthcoming conference this year is deepening insolvency tools for resolving commercial and financial challenges of business. My guest is Mr. Albert Folorunso. He is managing consultant, Christian Pedabo, and also the vice president of BRIPAN. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It is really good to have you in the studio this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Tulu. Always a pleasure to be here too.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I think we should start today with activities of the Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners. Tell us more about it.
BRIPAN, Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners Association of Nigeria, has the main focus of guiding insolvency practitioners on how to carry out their activities and to also relate with government agents as well as regulators as to how struggling companies can become can proceed to going concern. Okay. The provision of CAMA, Section 705 and 707, gives BRIPAN the right to train and to also engage in insolvency practice in Nigeria, as well as to engage in rescue company, among other institutions. And so what we do is we relate with the Corporate Affairs Commission, to obtain certification, on a yearly basis, as well as train members. Now, we have over 2,000 members of BRIPAN. Like you said, you already gave a very good introduction of a non-profit organization, BRIPAN. And so we also have regional offices in the 6 geopolitical zone to harness and coordinate the activities of members. And of course, you will be aware that banks have so much in forbearance in terms of the looking at non-performing loans, which has become very troublesome. The focus of BRIPAN is to be able to relate and engage with creditors to engage on how they can manage the non-performing loans. Yes, we are all familiar with AMCON, those that is also involved in similar activities. And of course have been helping banks to take over the huge loans. It is also the responsibility of BRIPAN to engage, with the creditors and ensure that the loans that have become bad, are turned back to a recovery level by engaging in the provisions of CAMA. CAMA brought in some good provisions in 2020, particularly administration and company voluntary arrangement, where company can still, companies that are struggling financially can still turn to recovery. Those are the main highlight of the 2020 provision. And so the theme of this year's...
that was my next question. That's deepening insolvency tools for resolving commercial and financial challenges. Why this theme first?
You will see that a lot of companies are struggling. And there has to be a way for them to turn to recovery. We don't want companies to be dying. We talk about textile, they are no longer, so many of them have gone. And so there has to be a provision or a way so that companies can turn to recovery. So this theme is supposed to examine how the 2020 provision in CAMA has performed. What are the challenges, whether they are legal challenges or challenges with the lenders or even the practitioner themselves. What are those challenges? How can we harness the benefit of the provision so that companies will no longer just be liquidated? And that is the focus of the team, deepening the solvency tools in order to confront those financial and commercial challenges of businesses. It applies to both small and big companies.
Okay.
Of course, there are arrangements that a company can make by themselves, which we call the CVA. Okay, and of course, the creditors also have to buy into that to some extent. But there is also the administration, which can be initiated either by the court or by the creditor themselves and appoint an administrator. And the law says that it must be a recognized and experienced insolvency practitioner. And that is where BRIPAN comes in.
Oh, okay,
we have to engage with the banks so that they can identify those who are qualified and also identify what documentation is required for you to be able to appoint a person as an insolvency practitioner to take over a company. And of course, when you take over such company, what do? You find a way to rescue the company as a going concern. If funds are required, you go back to the bank, because what kills most companies in Nigeria now is the fact that banks have given so much money, maybe for the construction of their factories and all that, and then when it comes to working capital, they struggle. So they need to have somebody in the business that will be able to trust with their fund, okay, since the person will probably be representing them, reporting to them, as well as the court where the need arises.
But how does the Nigerian tax regime affect insolvency practice?
Okay, so as an insolvency practitioner, you move or you step into the stead of the management of the company.
Yes.
So all obligations, tax obligations, becomes that of the practitioner. If you are a liquidator, you'll be liable to all the liabilities of the bank, of the company.
Okay.
If you are the liquidator, if you are a receiver, you are also held liable for all the taxes. And there are provisions in CAMA that also specify the extent of liability when it comes to taxation and other obligation of a receiver manager, an insolvency practitioner, or an administrator, as the case may be. So definitely, with the new law, there are some provisions that have been included, particularly relating to business restructuring, where some assets of the company, can be taken as, particularly depending on the nature of the restructuring, if it is a merger or a takeover or a complete acquisition. All of those have their variant in terms of taxation. And an insolvency practitioner must be informed of their obligation in those light. And that is why this conference, there is a particular session that will deal with the tax obligations of insolvency practitioners, so that you will not finish receivership or administration, and then the tax authority is pursuing you. You need to understand what other obligation you have, or apart from the appointers, the bank or the creditor that may have appointed you.
Tell us about the prospects, expected and unexpected impact of the Investment and Securities Act 2025. I think I spoke to the DG of SEC immediately this was signed into law, but I think there is more to it.
Yes, the most significant thing is the need for transparency.
Okay.
They also want to go the global, requirement for those investment provision. The fact that you want to align with ISA that is also obtainable in UK, in other countries, and in America. Okay. So there are specified provisions that has been outlined, which has to be followed for investment. And that is also, again, why we expect people to sign up and attend this conference, because there is a specific session that will deal with the ISA 2025 as specified, so that people can be well informed. Practitioners will get to know what provisions and regulations has been put in the law to guide investment, specifically trading in stock.
The role of AI has also been highlighted at this very important gathering, because I saw things around AI. AI affects everything. Even our jobs here, we have AI anchors. Can you shed more light around this, how it affects?
All right. AI generally is a business tool, and it's very important when it comes to insolvency practice, particularly business restructuring. There are tools now that you can use to examine a company and know exactly when they are likely to become distressed. Okay, there are some products out there that can dictate when a company is going distressed, and then you can quickly bring in maybe an administrator so that the company does not go into liquidation. And when you appoint such liquidator, you also need platform, you need tools that will help you quickly examine, the speed at which AI does a lot of things, particularly data analysis. We also have situations where AI will help you to be able to distill the information of the company. You need to review the financial statement and then come up with detailed analysis of the situation of the company. We have data gathering, data analysis, and then we have analytics tools within that can be used, which are AI-related, that will detect the status of the company. And, you'll be surprised how some information are put out there. They are based on large data. And for large data, they are not things you can work on your system. You have to deploy, machine equipment or machine language system that will be able to analyze those information. And that is why AI has become also crucial to all businesses. And we're saying for insolvency practitioners, because of the risk involved, you need to deploy AI for data analysis, for data review, and even to guide you in determining what is going to be the end result of this assignment, particularly if you have been appointed as an administrator. You want to, at the beginning, examine whether it is possible for the business to survive as a going concern, or it is one that is not likely going to survive, so that you can start planning, for liquidation and other processes.
So long and short, a lot of discussions will go on at this gathering. What sort of people are we supposed to expect?
All right.
There?
So our members are mainly bankers, accountants, lawyers, and judicial officials. So we expect a lot of the practitioners to be present, and most of them are registered. We also expect the bankers, they're the ones that are the creditors. Yes. They're the one that gives out this credit facility, which becomes bad, which now resort to appointment of either as a receiver manager, an administrator, or a nominee for a CVA. So we expect a lot of them. We also have judges coming up, because most cases, when it comes to insolvency, they are stalled by court rulings sometimes. Unsecured creditors can go to court, obtain a judgment, and then disrupt whatever work you are doing. So the judges are going to be there. We're going to have a round table, judicial round table, that will discuss how is the 2020 CAMA provisions being implemented. What are the challenges? How can it be improved? All of those are going to be distilled by the judges. And I'm sure I don't want to start mentioning their names.
All right, then. Back to our tax laws. A lot of back and forth in recent times. Yes, for us journalists, we get a lot of questions. And people even go online now to make series of videos with regards to the tax laws. Can you help clarify some of this, like the issues of bank accounts, the issues of fossil fuel tax? I think government has even come out to say that is not coming on now. I think it's a firmer act that has been on before now. But we need some clarity around some of these things.
Okay, so this controversy started again when the Gazette was released recently. I know there was some documents were released earlier, but the official Gazette has been released officially now. And some of the things that that has been emphasized, or we can point out in the Gazette, is the fact that for a small company, the base is 100 million and not 50 million that was in the that was being peddled around. Okay. Even though there are also complaints as to what is in NTA, the Nigerian Tax Act, and the admin. But of course, I can also clarify here, it is 100 million. Again, there are provisions relating to priority sector, which we call the pioneer sector. The basis for the determination of their credit has also been clarified, which is 5% of the asset you acquired within the first 5 years. A number of things. Again, payment of tax has been clarified, that you can pay your tax in Naira, even if the activity has been carried out in dollar. Now, going to the fossil fuel that you mentioned, there's a provision that says that from 1st of January, which the law is going to take off, that the 5% fossil fuel can be charged only where it is triggered by an order or a regulation or an order issued by the Minister of Finance. So which means that it has not become law until that, that provision was in the old Finance Act relating to telecommunication and some other items. And it was never implemented because it was just there. And government did not see any reason to trigger that provision. The same thing is likely to happen, or is the basis for this 5% fossil fuel. It does not take effect, and it has not become law until the executive order is issued. And that is just the position. We don't need to go into the reason behind the introduction or what the fund is meant to be for. Then the second one, which is on the tax admin aspect, yes, relating to registration for tax. Every eligible person, let me not say taxpayer, every Nigerian is supposed to have a tax clearance or carry a tax identification number. Whether you are liable to pay tax or not, you are supposed to have a tax identification number. And that is what is in the law, that you must have a tax identification number as an individual that will be tied to your NIN number. For a company, it's tied to the RC number, whether you are paying tax or not. So that does not mean that everybody that has a tax identification number will be made to pay tax by force. If you don't have income, if you are an income earner that is below the threshold for taxation, if you are a business that does not have turnover that is more than 50 million that I just mentioned, 100 million that I just mentioned now, you are not liable to tax. But you still want to show that you have a tax clearance. There are situations where your children want to register, even in nursery school, they will ask for your tax clearance. How do you want, if you are not liable to tax, it will state that non-liable to tax. It should be stated. So what is happening now is that the banks are supposed to work with the Nigerian Revenue Board, which we used to call the Joint Tax Board, okay, to align everybody's NIN, NIN. Every individual has NIN. That one has nothing to do with tax. It is your identification number. And so it is the same number that is now being used as what? As your tax number. Okay? It is just for the banks to recognize that this person has a tax identification. And the provision did not state that if you don't have a NIN, the bank should close your account. No bank will do that because the law did not say that. But if you have a bank account and you don't have a tax identification number, just send them your NIN, and that will be captured as your tax identification number. You don't know what can happen. Tomorrow you may get government contracts and they will ask for your tax identification number. Yeah. Okay? And so I don't think that it should be taken as if banks are from January going to freeze the account of individuals who does not have a tax. It is for banks to find a way to obtain your NIN, even without asking you. They can go straight to the Joint Revenue Board, who will give them your NIN, and they will just slot it into your account system. And it will be reflected there that you have a NIN. In fact, every Nigerian should be proud to have a tax identification number, whether you are paying tax or not.
I think it's a good way to leave it today. I must thank you so much, as always, for coming in.
Thank you so very much.
To the studio. And I wish you a successful conference, too.
Thank you very much. I hope you'll be there.
I will be there.
And we're looking forward to all accountants, lawyers, bankers to join us at Civic Center.
All right, then.
For the conference on the 25th and 26th of this month. Next week.
All right, then. Mr. Albert Folorunso is Managing Consultant, Christine Pedabo, Vice President, BRIPAN, and he's been speaking to us, of course, about all of the developments ahead of the conference. And